Have you ever wondered why your mind never truly rests? No matter how hard you try, thoughts return. Regrets from yesterday, fears of tomorrow, endless noise that refuses to stop. Here is the haunting truth. The more you fight the mind, the stronger it grows. It is not the noise that binds us, but our clinging to it. What if emptiness, not effort, was the key? Stay with me until the end. There's a powerful bonus lesson that could change the way you experience your mind forever. Before we begin, subscribe to Deep Wisdom, where every video is a doorway to calm, clarity, and timeless Buddhist insight you won't find anywhere else. Let's begin. 1. The noise behind your silence. The mind does not weigh heavy because of thoughts alone, but because of our fear of them. What if the real problem is not the noise itself, but our fear of hearing it? This is the hidden burden we carry every day. A river does not complain of its currents, yet we fight against the currents of our mind as if they should not exist. It is not the sound that disturbs you, but your resistance to it. Like a temple bell struck by the wind, your mind rings because it is alive. Each vibration is proof of life, of awareness, of consciousness moving through you. But instead of accepting the resonance, we cover our ears, we fight against the natural music of thought, and in that struggle, suffering is born. Sit quietly for a moment. Imagine your thoughts as bells, ringing softly, one after another. They do not need to be silenced. They will fade naturally, just as sound fades into stillness. Notice how, when you stop pushing them away, the ringing becomes gentle, even beautiful. Silence is not the absence of sound, but the acceptance of it. Think of how much energy you spend resisting your own mind. At work, when distractions arise, you become restless. In relationships, when emotions surface, you wish they were not there. In solitude, the mind echoes louder, and you fear the noise of your own being. But what if the noise has never been the enemy? What if silence is already hidden within it, waiting for you to listen without resistance? Buddhism teaches that the mind is not to be conquered, but understood. A restless mind is like a child crying out for attention. Punishment does not bring peace, but gentle awareness does. When you stop resisting, the child quiets. When you stop resisting, the mind rests. Do I resist my own inner sound? What happens when I meet my thoughts with curiosity instead of rejection? What if, within every storm of noise, there is a secret stillness waiting to be discovered? The greatest peace is not found in escaping life, but in listening deeply to it. Just as a monk in meditation does not fight thoughts, but watches them pass, you too can learn to rest within the movement of your own mind. The noise is not a prison, it is a doorway. An overflowing mind cannot hear truth. Only an empty one can echo with peace. To empty your mind is not to destroy its voice, but to release your resistance, until silence itself rises from within the sound. Are you ready to listen, not with fear, but with acceptance? Because the moment you truly listen, the noise behind your silence becomes the silence itself. 2. The weight you cannot see. Why do simple thoughts feel as heavy as chains? They are only whispers of the mind, yet they sit on the chest like stones. The truth is, it is not their weight that breaks us, it is our refusal to set them down. We suffer more from holding than from the weight itself. Imagine this: a feather in your hand feels light, almost nothing. But carry it for years, never letting it go, and you will feel your spine bend, your shoulders sink, your breath shorten. Thoughts are the same. A single memory, a regret, a harsh word, small in the beginning, yet clung to for years, it becomes a prison we build around ourselves. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine standing by a flowing river. Place each thought, your worries, regrets, fears, upon a leaf and let it drift. Watch as the current carries them far beyond your reach. Notice the lightness that comes not from changing the thought, but from releasing it. This is the freedom the Buddha pointed to. Not the ending of life's movements, but the ending of our grasping. Think of how much of your life you still carry on your back. Perhaps a mistake from childhood, perhaps a wound from love, perhaps an old fear that still whispers in the silence. These thoughts do not grow lighter with time. They grow heavier because of your attachment. What would happen if today, in this very moment, you allowed yourself to finally put them down? Buddhist wisdom reminds us that identity is not built from the chains we carry, but from the freedom we allow ourselves to taste. You are not your pain, nor your past, nor the countless burdens you guard so carefully. You are the awareness beneath them, the sky that holds both storm and sunlight. To mistake heaviness for identity is to live as if the chains are who you are. But you are not the chain. You are the space in which chains appear and dissolve. What thoughts do you still carry from years ago? If you set them down, what space would open in your heart? Why do you confuse heaviness with identity, when in truth, you have always been lighter than the burdens you cling to? An overflowing bag tears not because of what it holds, but because it refuses to release. Your mind is the same. Emptying it does not mean you lose yourself. It means you rediscover the self that has always been unburdened. So remember this: the mind does not grow free by adding more. It grows free by letting go. And the last thought you release may be the first time you realize how weightless you were always meant to be. 3. Stop chasing control. What if control is the very thing keeping you powerless? We spend our days tightening our grip on life, trying to hold every outcome, every person, every thought in place. Yet the more we grasp, the more everything slips through our fingers. The more you grasp, the less you hold. Picture a clenched fist, tight, rigid, unyielding. Can it hold water? Number. The very act of clenching forces life to escape. Now picture an open palm, relaxed and spacious. Water rests there with ease. This is the difference between a mind chasing control and a mind resting in surrender. Pause for a moment. Open your own hand, slowly, gently. Feel the release as if you are unclenching not only your fingers, but your mind itself. Notice how softening the hand brings a sense of ease. This is the same ease that arises when you let go of controlling thoughts, people, and circumstances. So much of our suffering comes from our obsession with control. You want your work to go exactly as planned, yet life interrupts. You want loved ones to act in ways that match your expectations, yet they move with their own rhythm. You want the mind itself to obey, but the more you order it into silence, the louder it becomes. Chasing control creates only friction, and friction burns. Buddhism teaches us that peace is not found in bending the world to our will, but in learning to rest within it. A tree does not command the wind to blow gently. It simply bends, and in bending, it survives the storm. You too can learn this art of bending, of softening, of trusting that life holds you even when you cannot hold it. Ask yourself now, what am I desperately trying to control today? Has control ever truly brought me peace, or only a temporary illusion of safety? And most importantly, what if letting go brought more power than control ever could? Imagine living with an open hand, an open heart, an open mind. Instead of grasping, you receive. Instead of commanding, you allow. And in this allowing, something profound is revealed. Control was never the source of strength. Surrender was. To empty your mind is to unclench your inner fist. To release the pressure of control is to discover a space where calm flows naturally. You will find that the world does not collapse without your grip. Instead, it breathes, it flows, it nourishes. Remember this: power does not belong to the hand that grasps, but to the hand that opens. And when your mind opens, when you stop chasing control, you realize the truth. You were never powerless, only too tightly closed to feel your own freedom. 4. The cup is empty for a reason. Why is emptiness more useful than fullness? We often believe that to be complete, we must be full of knowledge, full of plans, full of answers. Yet the truth of Buddhist wisdom whispers differently. The vessel holds because of its hollow. A cup overflowing cannot quench thirst, but an empty one is life-giving. When the mind is crowded, there is no space for truth to enter. When it is overflowing with noise, it cannot reflect clearly. But when you empty it, even a single drop of wisdom can nourish your entire being. Close your eyes and picture your mind as a cup. With each breath, you pour out a little more of the clutter: old worries, stale regrets, unnecessary expectations. Feel the cup growing lighter, more spacious, ready to hold only what is essential. This emptiness is not a loss. It is preparation for life to flow through you again. Think of how the modern world glorifies fullness. You are told to keep your schedule full, to keep your mind busy, to keep your heart occupied. Yet what has this constant filling brought you? Often only exhaustion. A field that is never left empty cannot renew its soil. In the same way, a mind that is never emptied cannot renew its clarity. Buddhism reminds us that emptiness is not a void to fear, but a space of possibility. It is where wisdom enters, where peace takes root, where clarity can be seen without distortion. When your mind is empty, you no longer confuse the weight of thoughts with the strength of truth. You realize that stillness is power and spaciousness is freedom. Ask yourself gently, am I afraid of my own emptiness? What if emptiness is the very place where wisdom enters? Do I confuse fullness with strength when in reality, true strength is the courage to let go? Imagine carrying a bag stuffed to the brim. No matter how much is inside, nothing new can be added. Yet when the bag is emptied, it becomes ready, useful, alive with possibility again. Your mind works the same way. To empty it is not to destroy it. It is to return it to its true function, its natural openness. To empty your mind is to stop drowning in excess and to start breathing in freedom. In emptiness, you will discover not weakness, but the purest form of power, the power to receive life as it truly is. Remember this: a cup is empty for a reason. Its purpose is not to be crammed with everything, but to be open for what truly nourishes. And when your mind becomes that empty cup, you will finally taste the water of peace. 5. The difference between escape and release. Are you releasing your thoughts or just running from them? This is a question many avoid, yet it reveals the heart of why peace feels so distant. We confuse escape with release, but one binds us tighter while the other sets us free. Suppression is not silence, it is a storm in disguise. Think of a beach ball pushed beneath the water. You may keep it hidden for a while, but the deeper you press it down, the stronger it explodes upward. In the same way, the thoughts you try to suppress will always rise again. often with more force than before. Escape creates tension, but release dissolves it. Close your eyes and picture this. Your thoughts rising like bubbles from the bottom of a clear pond. Each one drifts upward without resistance, bursting softly at the surface, leaving no trace behind. This is the nature of true release. Gentle, natural, without struggle. Notice how different it feels from the exhausting effort of escape. In daily life, how often do you run from your mind? When anxiety comes, you distract yourself with noise. When sadness visits, you bury it under tasks or entertainment. For a moment, it seems gone, but the silence of suppression is not true silence. It is merely a storm waiting to return. Buddhism teaches that freedom is not found in pushing thoughts away, but in allowing them to pass without clinging. A bird does not chase the sky behind it. It keeps flying forward. In the same way, you do not need to wrestle with every thought. You only need to let it move, to let it dissolve in its own time. Reflect deeply. Am I suppressing or truly releasing? What thoughts keep returning because I push them away? What would happen if I simply allowed them to rise and dissolve instead of fighting them? Release begins with acceptance. When anger comes, breathe and let it surface. When fear whispers, listen without judgment. When restlessness arises, observe it like ripples on water. By releasing in this way, you stop fueling the storm, and it loses its power. To empty your mind is not to flee from what is inside, but to open enough space for every thought to come and go naturally. This is the difference between a prison and freedom. Escape keeps you chained to what you resist, while release allows you to walk away unbound. Remember this: the mind does not find peace by pushing thoughts away, but by letting them dissolve. Like bubbles that rise and vanish on the surface, your thoughts too will pass when you no longer fight them. And in that release, silence appears, not the silence of suppression, but the silence of true freedom. 6. Stillness is not absence. What if true stillness is not the end of thought, but the beginning of seeing clearly? We often imagine peace as the absence of the mind, a void where nothing stirs. Yet Buddhist wisdom reminds us that stillness is not emptiness of being, it is fullness of clarity. Still water reflects the sky. A pond does not stop existing when it becomes calm. It does not vanish into nothingness. Instead, it begins to reflect the heavens above, with every cloud, every star, every shift of light visible upon its surface. In the same way, when your mind grows still, it does not disappear. It simply reveals life as it truly is. Close your eyes and breathe gently. Picture your mind as a body of water. At first, the winds of thought disturb it, rippling every surface. But as you sit, each breath softens the waves. Slowly, the water clears. Now it mirrors only what is, nothing more, nothing less. This is stillness, not escape, but reflection. Too often, we chase emptiness as if silence were the goal, believing that peace means the total erasure of thought. But emptiness cannot be chased. It is the natural space that appears when you stop running. You do not silence the mind to force stillness. You rest in stillness, and silence appears on its own. Think of your daily struggles. In moments of stress, your mind becomes like stormy waters. You see nothing clearly. Your emotions cloud your judgment. Your worries distort your vision. But when you pause, breathe, and allow stillness, the waters settle. Suddenly, clarity returns. You see not only the problem, but the truth hidden beneath it. Ask yourself now, Am I chasing emptiness or resting in it? How does stillness change the way I perceive my life? What if stillness is not something I must create, but the natural state of my mind when I stop disturbing it? Buddhism teaches that the mind, at its core, is luminous and clear, like the surface of calm water. Thoughts are ripples, emotions are waves, but beneath them lies a vast depth untouched by movement. To discover stillness is not to kill thought, but to see beyond its ripples into the depth of awareness itself. To empty your mind, then, is not to erase, but to reveal, not to fight, but to allow. Stillness is not the end of thought. It is the space in which thought no longer controls you. Remember this: a pond that rests still reflects the entire sky. Your mind, when at rest, reflects the truth of life, and in that reflection, you will see clearly, not because the mind is gone, but because it has finally returned to its natural state of peace. 7. The freedom of detachment. What if you could hold every thought without being held by it? This is the heart of detachment, not rejection, not suppression, but freedom. To see without clinging is to be free. Think of a tree standing in a quiet forest. Birds land on its branches, rest for a while, then fly away. The tree does not beg them to stay, nor does it fear their leaving. It simply allows. Your thoughts are like those birds. They arrive, perch for a moment, and move on. But when you cling, you grasp the bird's wings, trying to keep it forever. In that grasp, both you and the bird suffer. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine each thought as a bird gently landing on your shoulder. You do not chase it, nor do you force it away. You simply watch, and soon, as naturally as it arrived, it takes flight. Notice how light your being feels when you stop clinging. Notice how space opens up when you allow everything to come and go. So much of our suffering arises because we mistake thoughts for identity. A passing worry becomes, "I am anxious." A fleeting doubt becomes, "I am not enough." Yet these are only visitors, not your essence. The problem is not the thought itself, but the clinging, the insistence that this passing moment defines who you are. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that detachment is not coldness or indifference. It is compassion for yourself, born of understanding. To detach is to love each thought enough to let it be free without chaining it to your heart. Imagine the freedom of walking through life without carrying every passing fear, every regret, every judgment as though it were your own reflection. Which thoughts do I cling to as if they define me? Can I let them pass like birds on a branch? What freedom would unfold if I stopped holding so tightly? Detachment does not strip life of meaning. In fact, it deepens it. When you are not bound by clinging, you experience life more fully, more openly. You taste joy without fear of losing it, and you face pain without being imprisoned by it. Detachment is not emptiness of heart, it is the fullness of freedom. To empty your mind is to let thoughts arrive and leave without resistance. It is to realize you are not the thoughts themselves, but the vast sky in which they appear and disappear. The sky does not cling to clouds, yet it holds them all. Remember this: true freedom is not found in holding tightly, but in letting go. To see without clinging is to walk through life unchained. And in that freedom of detachment, the mind becomes clear, the heart becomes light, and peace becomes your natural state. 8. The illusion of restless time. Is the mind restless, or is it simply living in unfinished moments? This is the illusion of restless time, the belief that peace lies in some other place in some future hour or past memory. Yet the truth is simple. The mind that runs ahead never arrives. Think of a candle. Its flame cannot burn in two directions at once. It is always rooted in the present moment. If the flame tried to stretch toward both the past and the future, it would vanish. In the same way, your mind cannot truly live in yesterday or tomorrow. It only flickers in the now. But when you chase unfinished moments, you mistake that flicker for chaos, when in reality, peace has never left. Breathe deeply and say inwardly, "This moment is enough." Feel how the body responds when you return to the simplicity of presence. The breath anchors you, the heart steadies, and the restless waves begin to settle. Restlessness is not an enemy. It is only a sign that the mind has wandered away from home. Think of how much of your life is spent outside of this moment. While eating, you think of tomorrow's work. While resting, you replay yesterday's conversations. While walking, your mind races toward a future that never truly arrives. This constant time traveling is what makes the mind heavy, not the present itself. Buddhism teaches that peace does not come from controlling the future or repairing the past, but from fully inhabiting this breath, this step, this moment. When you are here, time dissolves. There is no chase, no unfinished story, only the fullness of what already is. Reflect gently. How much of my restlessness is simply thoughts wandering through time? What happens when I return to this breath, this single inhale and exhale? Is peace not always here, quietly waiting beneath the noise of my wandering mind? To empty your mind is to see the illusion of restless time clearly. It is to recognize that the mind's racing is not truth, it is habit. And like any habit, it loosens the moment you no longer feed it. By returning to presence again and again, you discover that the mind is not restless at its core. It is luminous, calm, and unshaken. Imagine a traveler endlessly circling the globe, never realizing that home was within them all along. That is the restless mind. But when the traveler finally sits still, they see that home was never lost. It was simply ignored. Remember this: peace is not hidden in the future. It is not buried in the past. It is here, now, in the breath you are taking. The restless mind runs ahead, but the present mind arrives. And when you arrive fully, you see the truth. The moment you are in has always been enough. 9. The paradox of nothingness. What if nothingness is not the absence of life, but its deepest root? We fear the word nothing as if it points to loss, emptiness, or death. But Buddhist wisdom shows us another truth. In nothing, everything is born. Look up at the night sky. To the eye, it seems vast and empty, yet within that nothingness live countless stars, galaxies, and worlds. The space that looks like absence is the very canvas of creation. In the same way, when you encounter the stillness of your own inner emptiness, you are not meeting an end. You are touching the womb of possibility. Close your eyes and imagine the darkness within you, not as a void, but as a vast night sky. See how it holds infinite light, hidden stars waiting to shine. Each breath takes you deeper into this space where silence is alive, where stillness is not deadness, but the soil from which life continually arises. We spend so much of our lives filling every corner of the mind, terrified of space, terrified of pause. We equate busyness with meaning and nothingness with failure. Yet think of the seed. It must rest in the dark soil before it can grow. Think of silence. It is the backdrop that allows every song to be heard. Think of the breath. It empties before it fills. Nothingness is not your enemy, it is your origin. Ask yourself with honesty, do I fear nothingness because I mistake it for loss? What if this nothingness is not a threat but a home? What if it is the womb of all creation, the ground where wisdom and peace take root? Can I trust emptiness to guide me back to myself? Buddhism teaches that when the mind becomes still and empty, it does not vanish, it expands. It becomes wide enough to hold everything without clinging. In this nothingness, there is no pressure to be someone, to achieve something, to prove anything. There is only freedom, the kind that cannot be taken or broken. To empty your mind is not to lose your identity, but to return to the place before identity was ever needed. It is like stepping into the vast night and realizing that the darkness is not hollow, but sacred. It is where stars are born, where clarity begins, where peace reveals itself. Remember this, the paradox of nothingness is that it contains everything. Emptiness is not the end of life, but the deepest root of it. And when you no longer fear it, you step into the infinite sky of your own being, unbound, luminous, and free. 10. The sky, not the cloud. Why do we mistake the temporary for the eternal? Each thought, each emotion, each fleeting worry arrives like a storm, fierce and urgent, demanding attention. Yet, you are not the storm, you are the sky it moves through. The mind is often clouded by this confusion, taking passing disturbances as identity itself. Picture the sky above on a restless day. Clouds race across it, sometimes heavy with rain, sometimes light and playful. But the sky itself remains untouched. Its vastness is constant, unaffected by what drifts through it. In the same way, your true self is not the thoughts that come and go. Your essence is the space in which they appear, the openness that observes without clinging. Close your eyes and visualize your mind as that sky. Let each thought, each worry, each fleeting judgment pass by like drifting clouds. Watch them move without interference. Feel the freedom in realizing that the clouds can't alter the vastness of the sky, no matter how turbulent they become. This is the nature of true emptiness and spaciousness, not the absence of experience, but the ability to hold it without being consumed by it. Reflect on your daily life. How often do you take a single cloud, a critical word, a moment of doubt, a passing fear, and mistake it for the entirety of your being? How often do you let a fleeting storm dictate your mood, your choices, your sense of self? The storm is temporary, yet identification with it makes it permanent in experience. The sky, however, is eternal. Buddhism teaches that suffering arises when we cling to the clouds instead of resting in the sky. Each emotion, each thought is like a visitor. They arrive, they stay briefly, and they leave. You do not need to chase them, nor do you need to push them away. Simply recognize them, then return your attention to the vast openness beneath. Ask yourself, do I confuse myself with my passing thoughts? What remains when the storm clears? Could I live as the sky, not the cloud? The answers lie not in struggle, but in observation. The moment you release identification with passing phenomena, the mind expands and the heart softens. To empty your mind is not to erase thought, it is to awaken to the clarity beneath it. It is to recognize that storms pass, but the sky endures. It is to see that no matter how many clouds gather, your essence remains untouched, vast, and free. Remember this: clouds will come and go, storms will rise and fall, but the sky is always there, unchanging, unshaken, infinite. To live as the sky, not the cloud, is to discover the deepest freedom your mind has ever known. And in that freedom, peace is no longer something to chase. It is simply what you are. 11. When emptiness turns to clarity. What happens when you no longer fight your thoughts, but allow them to dissolve naturally? For so long, we try to control, suppress, or arrange our minds, believing that peace is something we must construct. Yet, the clear mind is not found. It appears when nothing is held. Clarity is not created. It is revealed when the layers of resistance are released. Picture a window covered in fog. You wipe it gently, not trying to make it something it isn't, but simply removing what obscures your view. As the glass clears, sunlight floods in effortlessly. The world outside was always there, waiting. In the same way, your mind, when freed from clinging and grasping, reveals clarity that was always present beneath the noise. Close your eyes and imagine wiping the fog from your inner glass. Thoughts arise, memories, worries, expectations, but you do not push them away or chase them down. You simply observe and allow them to dissolve, leaving space for awareness to shine. Each breath clears another layer until your mind reflects the world without distortion, without the shadows of resistance. Consider your own life. How much effort have you poured into creating peace, trying to shape it with routines, mantras, or distractions? And yet, peace often seems elusive because it cannot be manufactured. It is uncovered, not produced. By releasing control, by letting go of attachment to every passing thought, you allow clarity to emerge naturally, like sunlight through clean glass. Ask yourself gently, what clarity might appear if I stopped holding? Have I been trying to create peace instead of uncovering it? What does my life look like through a clear window when the mind is spacious, unburdened, and present? Buddhism teaches that the mind is inherently luminous, like the sky reflected in still water. It does not need to be forced or fixed. Struggle only clouds it further. By letting thoughts rise and dissolve on their own, by not gripping or resisting, you create the conditions for clarity to reveal itself effortlessly. Imagine living each day through this clear window. Challenges come, but they do not obscure your vision. Emotions arise, but they do not cloud your awareness. You see life as it is, not as you fear it to be, not as you hope it might be. This is the freedom that arises when emptiness turns to clarity, when nothing is held and everything is visible. To empty your mind is not to erase your experience. It is to stop holding on to the clutter that blocks the truth of what is. Like a window wiped clean, the clarity was always there. Your role was only to release the layers that hid it. Remember this: the mind becomes clear not by force, but by surrender. Peace is not something to construct, but something to uncover. And when your mind is free, when emptiness turns to clarity, you finally see what was always waiting: the luminous, unshakable essence of your own being. Bonus lesson: when life arranges itself. What if the greatest effort is no effort at all? We often believe that life must be controlled, pushed, or meticulously planned. Yet there is a deeper rhythm, a natural order that unfolds when we step aside. When the mind is empty, life falls into place. Picture a river flowing gently through a valley. It does not force its way downstream, nor does it resist the stones or bends it encounters. Yet over time, it shapes the land effortlessly, carving valleys, nourishing forests, and sustaining life along its path. Your mind can flow in the same way. When emptied of clinging, resistance, and struggle, it allows life to arrange itself with grace. Close your eyes and imagine yourself as that river. Feel the current beneath you, carrying thoughts, emotions, and experiences with ease. Notice how the water flows around obstacles without judgment, without force. Every twist and turn is part of its natural course, and yet the river never stops, never fights. It simply moves, shaping the world in its path, effortlessly. So often, we try to force outcomes, to control every detail, to micromanage every aspect of our lives. The mind tightens, the heart strains, and yet results often feel delayed, imperfect, or incomplete. But the river teaches us that true power lies not in force, but in trust. When you empty the mind, when you release the urge to manipulate every moment, life begins to flow naturally. Opportunities arrive, clarity appears, and paths unfold that were always possible, waiting for your surrender. Ask yourself now, what if life has been waiting for me to step aside? What does it feel like to trust the current, to stop swimming against it, to let the river of existence guide me? Can I let life arrange itself through the emptiness I cultivate within? Buddhist wisdom reminds us that emptiness is not weakness, but the most fertile ground for creation. A river does not need effort to carve its path. It simply allows the natural flow to shape the world. Similarly, your mind, when cleared of resistance and attachment, allows life to carve its own path effortlessly, with precision far beyond what striving could accomplish. Imagine walking through life as this river. Challenges arise like stones, yet the water flows around them. Joy comes like sunlight reflecting on the surface, and sadness passes like clouds drifting across the sky. You are not controlling, forcing, or resisting. You are simply present, allowing the current to move you exactly where you need to be. Remember this: the mind emptied of struggle becomes the most powerful instrument for life to arrange itself. Trust the flow, release the need to push, and witness how effortlessly life unfolds. In the quiet surrender of emptiness, you discover not inaction, but a profound alignment with the natural rhythm of existence, a rhythm that has always been waiting for you. Quick summaries of the principles. The noise behind your silence. The mind is never truly quiet, and that's not a flaw, but a mirror. The struggle comes not from noise itself, but from resisting it. By learning to sit with inner sound, we begin to find the silence hidden within. The weight you cannot see. Thoughts can feel heavier than stones because we carry them far longer than needed. Holding on to the past and worries of the future bends our spirit. Letting them go makes space for peace to return. Stop chasing control. The more we try to control life, the more it slips from our grasp. Control drains energy and fuels frustration. True strength is found in letting things flow naturally. The cup is empty for a reason. Emptiness is not weakness, it is usefulness. Just like a cup is valuable because it's empty, the mind gains clarity when it is uncluttered. Through emptiness, wisdom enters. The difference between escape and release. Running from thoughts only makes them return stronger. Suppressing emotions creates hidden storms within. True release is letting them pass without attachment. Stillness is not absence. Stillness doesn't mean the mind is gone. It means the mind reflects clearly. Peace emerges when thoughts settle naturally. In this stillness, truth reveals itself. The freedom of detachment. Freedom is not in avoiding thoughts, but in not clinging to them. When we allow thoughts to come and go, they lose their power over us. Detachment opens the door to inner liberation. The illusion of restless time. Restlessness arises from living in unfinished moments, replaying the past or racing to the future. The mind that returns to the present finds peace. The present moment is always enough. The paradox of nothingness. Nothingness may feel frightening, but it is the source of all creation. In emptiness, life begins again. To embrace nothing is to touch infinite possibility. The sky, not the cloud. Thoughts are temporary like clouds, but our true nature is vast like the sky. When we stop identifying with passing thoughts, we discover inner freedom. The sky remains untouched by storms. When emptiness turns to clarity. Clarity doesn't come from adding more thoughts, but from letting them dissolve. When the mind holds nothing, its natural brilliance appears. Peace is revealed, not created. When life arranges itself. When the mind is empty, life no longer feels forced. Instead, events flow with harmony and ease. Emptiness allows the natural order of life to unfold beautifully. Emptiness is not something to fear. It is the hidden door to freedom. In a world obsessed with noise, achievement, and constant thinking, emptiness may look like weakness, but in Buddhist wisdom, it is the highest strength. The mind that lets go, the mind that rests in silence, becomes the mind that finally sees. Remember this: when nothing is held, everything is possible. Zen teaches that emptiness is not the end, but the beginning, a return to the natural flow of life. When you stop filling the mind with clutter, clarity enters. When you stop chasing control, life begins to arrange itself. When you stop fighting your thoughts, peace finds you without effort. So, I leave you with this reflection. What could fall into place in your life if you allowed your mind to be empty just for a little while? If this message touched you, remember to like and share this video. Share your reflections in the comments and subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more Buddhist insights on living a peaceful life.